Wrestling set designs have long been an important aspect to the atmosphere of an event, both to the television audience and those live in attendance. Throughout the years, we've seen many fun, unique, and clean designs that revolve around a specific theming, or just look so good that theming is irrelevant. But with those successes come some blunders. Some sets that maybe didn't hit the mark for one reason or another, whether it be bad design or just not enough design. Either way, these sets are the focus of this video as we take a look at the 10 worst wrestling stage designs. And it's worth noting that we will be looking at WCW and WWF exclusively here, as they had much larger budgets for these sorts of things versus the smaller promotions, so it's not really fair to knock set designs for, say, ECW. Also, these rankings are based on research that I've gathered from the internets, so please don't track me down and attempt to attack me if one of your favorite designs makes the list. It's not my fault. And to be honest, there's even a couple on here that I don't necessarily hate, so nevertheless, let's get into this one. WrestleMania 18, one of my favorite wrestling events of all time, believe it or not, and not a stage that I necessarily dislike, but I do get why many fans do. Yes, it's big, very big, and this is normally a good thing, except for, of course, when the majority of this design is situated behind what appears at first glance to be an abundance of scaffolding. This was a time when the whole industrial steel tubing structure thing was running rampant in wrestling set designs, and I guess the old Federation figured, hey, the more the better, because it's everywhere here. It also doesn't help that this one appeared just a year after this wonderful design. Does it look like the show started before they even finished constructing the entire thing? Yeah, maybe. Would it be the last time we see something like this appear on this list? Absolutely not. Here's one that I wouldn't necessarily say is bad, but it does seem a bit bland for the time. I mean, taking a look at some of the other designs from the year, and I would say they were most often than not pretty darn cool, but this one just felt a little odd. I mean, the dual Titantron idea looks good if they're sitting opposite of each other on a wider set design, but here they're literally just side by side, touching, often playing the same exact video. Why not just make it one really wide screen? It was also a bit strange that they lit up the curtained areas to the sides of the set, drawing focus away from the centerpiece of the design, which is often a little bit dark to begin with, but maybe they just wanted it to have a broader presence? Either way, it's a bit of a miss. Here's another one that's on this list, mostly based on the fact that other designs from this era just seem to get a lot more attention to detail. I mean, just take a look at SummerSlam, or Backlash, or King of the Ring. These all appeared in the same year and clearly are superior to this one. Yeah, they kept the set smaller so seating behind the stage could be occupied, but maybe something a little more could have been done to make this one feel special. I mean, it is the big one. Many of you are familiar with this design for WCW's weekly broadcast of Thunder, but some might not be aware that the first few weeks of the show featured a completely different look. Yes, it was changed after just weeks. And this is why. People have joked that it looked like something out of a Nickelodeon game show, specifically Legends of the Hidden Temple, and it even featured functional doors. Well, sort of. They opened by way of stagehand. Look at that guy there. Yeah, get that thing open. With wrestlers seemingly emerging from a cave filled with fog and laser lights. In a time when WCW had lost a lot of its campy tendencies, this design came along to remind us all who brought us ideas like the Dungeon of Doom, the Yeti, and Glacier. This one wouldn't have been so bad had we not seen it so often. The cylinder tunnel, as I dubbed it back in my teens, was used for many pay-per-view events in 1998 and 1999, even WrestleMania. Most of the time it appeared with no screen, small signage, and was void of any significant theming. Sure, the lighting looked good, but your weekly TV show set design shouldn't outperform your premium events by a mile, and that it did here, unfortunately. In the grand scheme of things, does any of this really matter if the show itself is great? I mean, no, I guess it doesn't. We're here to watch wrestling when it boils down to it, but for those of us who yearn for visual stimulation, this one was a big repetitive letdown. We've all become accustomed to cookie-cutter set designs for each and every show in WWE. It's just kind of what we know now. But long before it became the norm there, it was seen in the last days of WCW. Ah yes, the promotion once known for using innovative and unique stages that took a show's theming and ran with it, had now become a generic atmosphere from a visual standpoint. It was bad enough that weekly shows like Nitro and Thunder were given this treatment, but when mainstays like Starrcade and Halloween Havoc look like this, well, they might as well just be called pay-per-view events number 12 and number 10 respectively, because they felt bland and unoriginal, to say the least. I'm not gonna say this killed WCW, but it surely didn't help their cause. In Your House was just pure 90s fun. I mean, the logo was colorful and playful, the wrestlers would make their way to the ring coming out of a friggin' house. It was just great. As the WWF shifted towards the Attitude Era, these shows started to feature their own subnames and individual theming. Enter 1997's D-Generation X In Your House. Gone was the flashy house set design, and in its place, a big X. And by big, I mean sort of medium-sized. Oh, and there was a letter D as well, which was sometimes hard to make out, sort of recreating the DX logo from the time. I think they missed an opportunity here to have the classic In Your House set with, like DX spray painted all over it, some busted out windows, police tape, you know, all that good stuff. But no, we got this instead. 1999 sure was a weird year for WCW. Here's a company that had some of the biggest years in wrestling's history, including the prior year, and when the start of 1999 didn't go exactly as planned, they hit the reset button. You know, that totally recognizable branding that you've spent years building, millions marketing, and finally beat the WWF with? Yeah, let's just ditch it. Replace it with something strange, which apparently even WCW themselves didn't seem to like. Oh, and to celebrate it, let's build a massive version of said logo for the set of Nitro. Sure, this design is ugly, but part of the hate it receives also has to do with the fact that it replaced one of the most beloved sets in wrestling. And oddly enough, over on TBS, Thunder would retain its stage design for a while longer with just minor logo updates. I still think of the beginning of the end whenever I see this thing. Okay. Serious question, guys. What's going on here? As if they didn't learn from WrestleMania 18, WWE strikes again with a design that essentially hides the entire design. I mean, this time they even blocked the Titantron, which is just weird. It kind of looks like whatever's back there would have been really cool on its own, which is part of the reason why it's such a bizarre choice. 2003 was one of the best years for set design, so this one definitely feels out of place when compared to the others. Is it worthy of number 2? I don't know. What do you think? In the year 2008, a pivotal moment in wrestling would occur. WWE would go high definition. Okay, let me start over. In 2008, a tragic moment in wrestling would occur. The HD stages were born. I still remember the night that Raw went HD. The anticipation was killing me. I was sitting in front of my TV waiting. What would it look like? Would there be a new set design? How could they possibly top the last few? Well, apparently by making damn near every surface of the design into bright, obnoxious LED displays. Yuck. And unfortunately, this would start a trend that continues to this very day. Sure, we've seen some bright spots throughout the years, but for the most part, things are very, well, bright, colorful, and just artificial looking. It's just not pleasant on the eyes. I mean, one week we were looking at this, and the next, this. Now some of us have kept up hope that maybe one day things will change and the classic set designs of the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era might one day return, but I think at this point, we all know that's just not happening. What are some of the worst designs in your opinion? Yes, I'm talking to you down there, okay? Do you agree with this list? Let me know below, and, you know, give it a like if you enjoyed the show. Until next time, gotta go.